see, I had this vision of my backyard as this perfect Eden with breezes wafting through as flowers and butterflies and bees all sort of floated around. And it would be magnificent right there, this little patch of bright color directly behind my flagstone patio. I planted the seeds, and of course, if it's wildflowers, you don't have to do anything. You know, it's going to be daisies and cornflowers, and all those flowers you see on the side of the road just growing, because that's what they do. It's going to be so easy. It was going to look great. And then it stopped raining. I mean, we pretty much, you get a drop here, you get a drop there. But in July, it'd be almost nothing. In August, you'd see those storms, or you'd hear them in the distance, passing tantalizingly close, rumbling so that the kids had to leave the pool. But not a bit of moisture. Or the sky would grow gray one September morning, and it would look like it was going to rain. But all of that vapor would disappear, and it'd be perfect and cloudless by mid-afternoon, and underfoot, the grass in the front yard was as crispy and crunchy and brown as unbuttered toast. And in my backyard, all of those flowers, that perfect, low-maintenance backyard, well, it just looked kind of sad. They grew feebly, poking out, you know, like it'd be 2 flowers, whole yard, that would be it. And, you know, it's a backyard, but for those who actually relied on rain and the skies for a living, this was not a good season. Summer's crop yield in Maryland was abysmal. It was terrible. Drought struck county after county after county. I mean, if anybody drove out to the beaches, you're going out to the beaches this summer, when you're driving past what normally are great tall stands of corn, it was stunted and brown and dead. Whole families' livelihoods just gone for this season. And recently, it just never seemed to get anything. We had 38 days without a drop of rain from the sky, nothing but tantalizing wisps up in perfect blueness. I hike in the woods around my house, and for the first time since I've lived there, all of the streams went dry. It was just all pebbles underfoot. I went out to the deserts of New Mexico for a wedding I was officiating last month, and there was more rain out there. That's not a good sign. Almost got where you forgot what it looked like, what it felt like when it rained. Until this last week, when the skies grew heavy and it finally rained. I was sitting in my office when it started to happen, when the rain began to patter down, and with our nice green steel roof, you really do hear it when it's coming down. When I heard that first staccato drumbeat of rain, I just had to go outside. Because I hadn't seen it in a while, I hadn't felt it in a while. And I stood there in that first rain in over a month and just tilted my head back and savored every last drop of that precious liquid as it splattered against my upturned face. You could almost hear, standing out there, hear the parched earth and parched grass up around here just sucking up that moisture, just taking it in. Of course, we got 6 inches of rain over 4 days, so things are all right now, but it gets hard to believe after a long drought, after the rain has been gone for a long time. It is hard to believe that it will ever return. But rain returns, and hope returns, even when things seem impossible. That was the point of what the prophet Joel was teaching this morning, recorded for us in this little and very hard-to-find book. It's in there. You just have to flip after Ezekiel and Daniel and Hosea. Ezekiel that. And his was an important message, but the problem is we don't exactly know when that message came from. We don't really have a good idea when Joel wrote to us. There's not much to give us a clue about that. Scholars have figured out, your Bible scholars are being very useful, it could be, he could have written anywhere between 800 years before Christ and 300 years before Christ. So what we're hearing is, all right, it's like someone saying, well, maybe you could have written it. Or maybe someone back before people even came to America wrote it. It's that kind of spread. They have no clue when this is from. But we do know a little tiny bit about what he was talking about. The thrust of this book is pretty simple. If you start out reading it, you know that something terrible has just happened in Judah. What Joel describes to us is a plague that has come upon the people. A plague of what appear to be locusts. Now, we don't get a lot of locusts around here, but they were the bane of all of the agriculture in the ancient world. These were migratory insects, look a little bit like grasshoppers, but they're bigger and browner. And they would sweep across entire nations. One cloud of them, hundreds of billions of them, could destroy the entire harvest for a year. Is Joel talking about locusts? Here again, Bible scholars prove that they are pretty much useless because they're not sure even if he's talking about locusts. On the one hand, half of them seem to think that the army that is descending upon Judah isn't locusts at all. It might be a symbol for the other armies that swept across Judah, swept across Israel. It could be a way of sneakily referring to the Babylonians or sneakily referring to the Assyrians so that you could complain about them and not get yourself in trouble. Then again, it seems like the other half of Bible scholars say, well, in fact, when he uses army imagery, he seems to be describing locusts and how they fly and what they do. So maybe all he's talking about is a whole bunch of really hungry grasshoppers. They've got no idea. They've got no idea. But whichever way you slice it, be it an army or be it just an army of bugs, the first chapter and a half of this book, the first chapter and a half, are all about some form of destruction and devastation befalling the people,